Hello students, welcome to CrackGradeB online learning platform. Today we have a very special guest with us, Ms. Amritha Suresh. She has cracked RBI Grade B 2023 exam in her first attempt. So many congratulations to you, Amritha. And today our followers want to know about your journey. Let me introduce some basic details about Amritha. She has completed her BTech in mechanical engineering from NIT Tiruchirappalli, and she has worked 1 year with ITC, and she has prepared for UPSC also for 1 year. So, Amrita, how did you prepare for these journeys? What was your strategies? And step by step, we will discuss. First, start from the phase 1. So, how did you tackle the phase 1? Because the level of the phase 1 is increasing every year. So we have seen this year quant and reasoning were tougher side. GA also completely changed pattern. So what were the sources you used, and how did you manage all the things?
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much for the introduction, sir. I started preparing for RBI Grade B only after UPSC prelims was over. So that is when the RBI notification came, and that's when I started my preparation as well. So for me, the main strategy during phase 1 was to make sure that I scored maximum in my strong point, which was English. I am quite confident in English because I was an avid reader from childhood itself. So I ensured that I scored my highest in English, and the remaining that I qualified to clear the cutoff. And for me, quant and reasoning were also quite doable because I'm from an engineering background and math comes easily for me. So my only issue was with general awareness because up until then I had only prepared for UPSC, where the kind of current affairs questions that they ask is entirely different because there is more focus on theoretical concepts rather than factual, and factual is what RBI focuses on. So first thing I did was I got a CrackGradeB subscription, and I used the RBI monthly RBI notifications and PIB circulars compilations from CrackGradeB, and I think I did it for 4 to 5 months. And the biggest thing in that was I made sure that I only focused on the important ones. There'd be a lot of information, but it is our responsibility to filter out what is important and what is not. And I think if you are a serious aspirant, you would be able to do that eventually. In the beginning, it would be very difficult, but once you're thorough with the previous year questions and everything, you'll be able to filter out what you need and what you don't need. And there is also a 100 important questions that sir always puts out, I think, for all the examinations. That document has also been very helpful. So I think the last 2 to 3 days before the exam, I was revising from that particular document only. I was pretty much well versed in that particular document, and that helped a lot during actual phase 1. And apart from that, what I did was I attended mock tests online. There were CrackGradeB mock tests also, and also a lot of free mock tests are available online. So what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to keep attempting the mock test, study the solution, not just do it and leave it there. Study all the solutions, and in every mock test, you're trying to sit and ensure that you're clearing the cutoff. And I think for me, from the second or third mock test, I was able to clear the sectional cutoffs and also the overall cutoffs thanks to general awareness and English, which became my strong points. And even if say I could only solve 50% questions in the mock test, I would sit and solve the remaining 50% questions after the test was over. So you have to do mock test, and you're also supposed to ensure that you sit and solve the mock test, complete the mock test after the mock test was over, solve every single question, like study every single question in the mock test. And that I think significantly helped me during the actual examination.
One thing I want to know, and mostly students want to know, that while attempting the paper, the most important thing is while actual paper. In reasoning part, there are a number of questions on puzzle, sitting arrangement. So, which portion you targeted? Means miscellaneous questions like syllabus, inequality, input, output, coding, decoding, the direction, blood relation, or critical reasoning. So, which portion of reasoning specifically you targeted? Because this time reasoning was tough and many students missed the cutoff by very less marks.
Less margin. So, sir, I had a strategy while I was solving the mock test itself. So I wanted to do at least one puzzle, but then I would leave the puzzle if it had more than two variables, two unknown variables. So if it had two or less, like one unknown variable, then I would definitely solve the question, because even though it takes a little bit extra time, you'll be, once you get that pattern or get that arrangement, you'll be easily able to solve 5 to 6 questions in a go. So I targeted those questions. And I also realized that blood relations was another strength of mine. I was easily able to solve those questions in mock tests. So I realized that these two are the things that I should focus on. And I did those things. And only when I had extra time, I think I did I don't know the name of those set of questions, but the ones in which you draw Venn diagrams and you come to the answer. I like some if say cats are all cats are roses, but all yeah,
Syllogism.
syllogism. Yes, syllogism. So those questions, I could also do them because I was very fluent in Venn diagrams. So I use Venn diagrams to solve those questions. So I focused only on these questions. And I think I would say to use the same strategy in quants also, because my data interpretation is very, I'm a bit weak there because my calculations aren't very quick. So what I did was I focused on the questions where there is more formula application, where I don't have to do long calculations. So all of these things you would be able to understand only when you're solving the mock test, because only if you simply sit and study and study and study, you'll never be able to understand your strength and weaknesses. Only when you do the mock test, you'll be able to understand what you're quick at and what you're slow at. So that's what I use. I had a strategy while doing the mock test result, that is to leave out the things that are difficult for me and go and attempt the quick ones first and then come back to the difficult ones. And that worked well in my favor.
And one more important thing about the general awareness. Generally, there is a myth or means some in previous year, this popular magazine, PS Cloud magazine, was being used by the many aspirants. So, did you use that?
No, I didn't have to use that. I just use CrackGradeB sources for entire the GA preparation. And I think one important mistake, one main mistake that a lot of aspirants make is they try to sit and cover everything. But in grade B, that is not required. You don't have to top phase one. You just have to clear the cutoff. And I think CrackGradeB gives more than enough material to do that. So I just focused on the past 3 to 4 months of, 4 to 5 months of CrackGradeB material, and that actually could help me clear this thing, GA, very easily. Obviously, but I was not able to go through all the questions in the actual exam paper because the questions have become lengthier this time with 5 sentences and all. But I think CrackGradeB materials provide more than enough to cover those things. And we will be able to clear that cutoff, and that is what is important. You don't have to score, say, 60 out of 60 in a paper. Just have to score enough to clear the cutoff. That is the important thing.
When you started your preparation for this RBI Grade B?
Yeah, I started preparation only after the notification was out, because up until then I was busy preparing for UPSC prelims. And I think around that time I came to know about my prelims result, which was negative. So I immediately started preparing for RBI Grade B. And my first thing that I did was purchase your course, sir.
And then how did you switch? Means what made you to switch from UPSC to RBI?
I would say it was the unpredictability of all these exams. So I didn't think it was just my first attempt in UPSC as well. But I realized that it is not wise to entirely rely on one particular exam itself, given the number of students that are writing these exams every year and how the paper was becoming more and more difficult. So I am not a person who can, like, cope well with being unemployed for a long time. I like having my stable net. And I realized that when I saw the phase one syllabus of RBI, I felt that this was something that I could do. And the job was right up my alley, something that I would really love working in. So I immediately switched. I realized that RBI would be a perfect fit for me. And right now, I do feel that it would be a better fit for me than UPSC itself, given the job roles and everything. So yeah, that's how I made the switch.
So, for the phase two, you started in parallel to phase one preparation, or after phase one you started for the phase two?
I started only after phase two, but I had that confidence that I'd be able to manage it because a lot of syllabus of UPSC also overlaps with ESI. So I was quite confident in ESI, and only finance and management was the extra topic for me. So I felt that it would be manageable. And to be very, very frank, I didn't expect to clear phase one of RBI in my first attempt itself because, like I told, I only started preparing after the notification was out. And there are several serious aspirants who have been studying for this for so many years. So I did not think I would clear it. I went and wrote the exam thinking that if I don't clear it this time, next time I would clear it. So I just need an experience of writing this exam. So yeah, I didn't have enough time to even prepare for phase two before phase one. And yeah, that confidence of having already studied for UPSC, so ESI would be not that difficult. That was also pushing me ahead. So yeah.
So what was your strategy for the ESI as maximum portion of ESI in exam is targeted from the current affair portion, schemes portion. So what was your strategy? Did you study the ESI static or did you focus more on the current affairs schemes part?
So yeah, again, like I said, phase two I started mainly after the phase one results were released because up until then I had zero confidence that I would clear it. So the first thing I think I spent 2 to 3 days looking at the previous year question, and I realized that static portion wasn't that much, and even if static portion was there, it was repeated. Like a lot of questions kept getting repeated. So I focused on that. And for the dynamic portion, what I did was CrackGradeB again released a lot of question answers sort of documents were there in the course website. So I went through the most important ones, the topics that kept on repeating. So I just read those, and I think I just made quick notes of important data only. I knew that it would be impossible to memorize a lot of data. So I just maybe noted down a couple of data from every topic. And I also memorized the keywords because I think keywords, this is what I've heard from seniors also, that keywords are very important. So these are the things I memorized. I jotted them down somewhere, and then so I revised that. And after that, and I had that confidence that I would be able to write the answers. So because in management, finance and management was an entirely new topic, so I put minimal effort into ESI, just this data, question answers from CrackGradeB and keywords, and immediately I moved on to my management preparation. And obviously, I think whatever we studied in phase one will definitely help in phase two also, because for phase one also we study ESI as a part of general awareness itself. So that also helped me.
It's one more thing that schemes in lot of data, number of schemes are there. Huge syllabus is means huge content for the scheme specifically, and a great weightage also schemes have in the final exam. Out of 50 in ESI, 30 marks were only as schemes or initiatives of the government. So how did you cram those data in schemes specifically? Means future aspirants generally we got this question from the aspirants that how did they should cram the schemes or what strategy they should follow to learn the schemes.
Schemes also, I think again, CrackGradeB has a document with just schemes, if I remember correctly. So I use that, and I think I focused on only the latest schemes. And even me, like the other aspirants, I don't think I was able to. I am very bad at again memorizing things. So I just focus on the important ones. And that too, I think a lot of it is very logical because the government wouldn't make a scheme for say 6 years or 7 years, which is a very odd number. So like a very, intermediate number. So you always know that it would be a multiple of 5 or a multiple of 10 if government comes out with a scheme. Same thing with percentages. It will always have some sort of logic behind it. So either when you're studying or even right in the exam hall, when you see those questions, it will somehow strike you that, okay, it would not be 6 years, say it would be 5 years, or it should not be, say, like, 24%. It should be either 15% or 20%. That kind of intuition will come eventually once you read a lot of these schemes. You will get that logic. At least that's what helped me. Because, like I said, I'm also very bad in memorizing a lot of things. And to be very honest, I don't know how good my score is in ESI objective. The scores are not out yet. And I don't think I would have scored that much. I think descriptive helped me out. But yeah, again, schemes, the only way to memorize it is keep on revising and revising and try to understand the logic behind these things. Because again, the people who make these schemes in the government are people like us who sit and think what to do. So there should be some logic behind it. It's not going to be random or haphazard. So just to understand that logic is the important part, and I think that helped me during the exam.
Okay, and ESI descriptive, what specific strategy you followed? Because a number of questions were based on the current reports as well.
Reports. Yeah, actually, when I saw when I started the descriptive section and I saw those reports, I was actually blank for some time because I knew the names of the reports. I didn't know anything much in detail. I had read them sometime long back, and yes, I was blank for a bit. But you don't have time for that during the exam to sit and waste, thinking, being sad that you don't know this. The best thing you can do is relate everything that you studied from other things. So I think one question was about migration, the UN report on migration. I just knew that report was there. So since you're someone who has studied so much over the past year, you would at least know what the UN would be suggesting, right? At least you'll have a basic idea what they would want to do to the migrants. Like obviously keep them safe, make them citizens of a country, etc. Like these are very crude examples. I know these are not exactly right, but use these keywords that you already know from say other topics or other answers. Use these intuitive knowledge that you like, trust your gut, use that intuitive knowledge that you have and put those keywords in the answer. Never leave any question thinking that you don't know it entirely. You will know at least a bit. So even if you can put those keywords, say out of the 600 words that you're supposed to write, even if you can write 400 words using these keywords, that itself is a big thing. And that is what I did honestly, because yeah, 4 questions, descriptive questions in ESI, I didn't know 2 answers. But I used the keywords. I used the knowledge that I had from other answers or other sources that I've read before, the newspapers that I've read, etc. All of those knowledge will eventually come to help you at that moment when you write the answer. You just have to keep a very calm head and it will come to you, because otherwise I think it is very difficult to mug up so many schemes and so many reports, etc. It's not humanly possible. I think this is what the institution organization also wants from us, to check if we can think logically and if we can apply what we know at the given moment. And that has helped me.
And this paper is online, means you have to type using keyboard, and in UPSC generally you have to write
Right.
pen paper based. Then how did you manage that typing speed, or and also the word limit is there, 600 words for the 15 mark question. So were you able to achieve the word limit? And
Yes.
how did you practice for this?
Uh, okay. Like only 10 days were there for the exam. But I'm someone who uses my laptop a lot. So I type a lot, and I've been doing it since say class 10 standard or something. I use my laptop a lot. But the issue was that our laptop keys are very thin, and you just need like a very light touch to get it on the screen. But when you go to the exam center, the keyboards are very old and very difficult to use. So first thing I did was I borrowed a normal keyboard from my roommate in hostel, and I used that. And I think 5 days before the exam, I started typing. So it doesn't matter if you know the answer or not. I use CrackGradeB mocks, and then I used to type answers. I was sitting and checking if I'm able to complete those things, or all those things within that time limit. And I think by second or third mock, I was able to complete. And yes, I would thank my years of using computer mindlessly for that. But you have to sit in practice. And if you're someone who's very slow in typing, you will have to start earlier itself, because completing the paper is of utmost importance. And without it, it will be very difficult. So either you can go to cyber cafes, or just buy a laptop from Amazon, sorry, keyboard from Amazon or something, where you use practice in these kind of keyboards. And you should also be prepared to face other difficulties, like the labs would also have other issues. Some keys would not be working, the mouse would not be working. So you should be prepared for all types of contingencies. So only thing we can do is prepare beforehand for that and practice. So this is what I did. I practiced. I made sure that I have a similar keyboard, and I practiced using that. And in the mock tests and all, I think the first couple of mock tests, I saw the ESI questions, and I was very shaken because I didn't know the answers. I didn't know what to write. But I was like, no, I'll still complete this paper. Whatever I write doesn't matter. I just need to type and finish this paper. That was my aim. So I sat and typed all of these answers, and yeah, eventually I was able to complete the papers. That was a big thing.
Oh, so the management and finance, it was a new means, uh, paper for a new subject for
Paper.
you. Then how did you manage in a short time? There was very less time in between phase 1 and phase 2. So how did you manage that?
So Yeah, again, main thing I kept as my what do you say, Bible would be previous year question papers. If you see in management, I think a lot of questions get repeated. You'll get a general idea of where they are focusing on. Because if you check the syllabus, it's a long list. You would not be able to cover it in this very short time. So you take the previous year questions and you focus on what is important and do only that. So that is what I did. So say if there is a concept that was asked in the objective paper a few years back, but it has not been asked in descriptive. Still, I'll study for that objective portion also in a descriptive manner as well. And CrackGradeB again has those documents in the question answer format, and I use those documents only for studying for that. So I'll pick out the important topics and I'll read from that. And finance also, I think because of my UPSC background, it was a bit helpful. And when I checked the questions also, I felt like these are things that I could manage. So I went through the CrackGradeB topics, which I was not very familiar with, only those things, because you'll only have that much time. And I think 2 days before the exam, I opened finance numericals because people usually make a big fuss over numericals in finance. Yeah. So I opened the finance document and then I realized that I didn't know even one formula. I was very lost. I was like, okay, I don't think I'm not going to be able to do this. So I tried to sit and study everything. And I realized that this was not possible. I was simply, getting myself agitated right before the exam. So I closed it. I was like, it's fine. Even if numericals come, it would be 2 or 4 marks. I should rather focus on the remaining, say, 96 marks that I can score in the paper. So, because that is the only time that we have. Say, if I had been preparing since 1 year, then I might have been able to cover that. But since I didn't have the time, I focused on what was important. And I think it worked well because this year there was only one numerical in the paper, and that was like really easy, which you could use in the return of assets formula.
Also, since the last 3 course year, they are not asking the numerical, only 1 mark or 2 mark numerical.
2 marks. Yes, yes. So it was I think, safe gamble for me to do that. And I instead focused on the management paper itself because I feel it was very scoring because once you have like a basic idea of all these concepts, you'll be easily able to write. And in management paper, a lot of it depends on how much you're describing rather than, if you know a lot of concepts. And even for objective paper in finance management, especially, a lot of it is very logical. If you look at the options itself, I think you would be eventually be able to reach the answer, like come to the correct conclusion. Like for example, if you say that there are 5 options, and if you've already only studied, only 3 options out of that, you will be able to eliminate those 3 options, and you are left with only two options. And it's just intuition after that, or like a bit of common sense, and you would be able to easily reach the answer. That is what I did because since there is very little time, you have to make trust your instinct and then try to grab what you can instead of trying to sit and cover everything. That is what I did. So focus on PYQs. Like I said, first focus on PYQs. Pick only the important things. You won't be able to cover 100% of the syllabus, and that is entirely fine. No one else will. And yeah, then trust your guts and trust your instincts, and then come to the answers.
Okay. And during the preparation, generally students face stress. Yes, the time is very less, specifically in RBI. After phase 1, there is hardly 20 to 30 days. And if we consider the result, then only 20 days are left. So there is a fear that this topic will be left, will be left, and stress is always there. Then how did you manage the stress?
So I think after the UPSC prelims failure, I was very stressed during my UPSC prelims preparation, and I think that was what reflected on my failure there as well. I was very stressed. I couldn't sleep before the exam. So I think I had a moment of self-reflection after that. I realized that this is all of these things are just merely jobs. If not this job, there's another job in the market for us, and I should not be looking at this as my last hope or anything. And I think taking that pressure away from myself that I have to clear this exam helped me so much. So compared to my UPSC prelims, my RBI exams, I went there with a completely calm head. So once you take that, we sometimes put all this undue pressure on ourselves, and I think that's what causes all the stress and a low poor performance during the exam. So once I took that stress off, look at this exam and say any other job in the market, that itself will help you clear 50% of this exam, because that stress is the important issue here. And even yesterday when the results came, I was thinking this. Only if I had gone with like, if I was this calm during the other exams that I faced in my life as well. And yeah, the difference is very visible. I was not allowed, I think the only time I was stressed during this entire process was right before entering the interview hall. Because up until then, for me, this is like I considered this as any other job, and I told myself that if not this, there are other options. If not this time, there's another attempt. This is not the end of my life. I kept telling this to myself, and that's the only thing that worked, because otherwise, I think it would have been another failure. I would not be sitting here. I just had to take that pressure off of myself, and that helped.
English descriptive.
Yeah.
Yes.
So English, like I said, I've been an avid reader since childhood, so I wasn't stressing much about English. But so I don't think I'd be right to offer advice. But if I say I'll have a couple of tips, one is that read. Now we have, I think, almost 6 to 7 months before the next this thing exam cycle starts. Read every day. Try to read newspapers. If you can't read newspapers, if you feel that it's very difficult for you, read small novels also, like say Famous Five or Harry Potter, or you know, even children's books will be fine. The point is you don't need a very rich vocabulary to clear the exam. You just need to write the things that are in your mind in an eloquent manner, like in a very with good grammar, punctuation, etc. And that will only come from reading more and more and then practicing. So read something every day, read either the newspaper, read any book, something in English, make sure you read every day. Second thing is in English, whatever you have studied for ESI and management, you're supposed to apply that in your English paper as well. So I think the essay that I wrote for English this time was how Indians are looking for more than just salary. There was a essay prompt like that, how Indians are also looking for, the youngsters are looking for holistic development from their careers rather than just salary. So I wrote that, but that I used examples that I had read in the management paper. So I use those terms and I use those examples in my English paper as well. So English, you should not consider English as a separate subject and stress about it. Instead, use whatever knowledge you have from the other two papers into this paper, and that will help. Or at least that is what I think helped me. And comprehension and praises, again, I think it will only come from reading and practice, because there is no shortcut or formula for that. And also, I think it is a paper that a lot of aspirants neglect. So if you are able to score well in that, I think you would be a little bit more, further in your selection compared to the others. So don't neglect the paper, but that doesn't mean you have to sit and study too much for that. But make the language come naturally to you. And for that, you have to read. There is no other option.
One more famous question from the future aspirants. Then while descriptive writing, what strategy you followed? Means you wrote point-wise format, paragraph format. What specific things you wrote in a question? Means which area students should focus more?
I think this thing I followed the same strategy that I was hearing from the toppers of UPSC. Basically, for us, we have that in UPSC we have that set thing where you have introduction and then you write the points in the body and then the conclusion. This is exactly what I followed, nothing else. So I did a small introduction. It would be if it's a 400 marks question, 80 to 100 words in introduction and 80 to 100 words conclusion. Remaining would be for body, and body I would subdivide into say subheadings or points. And I think points help me structure my thinking also, because if you are going into it blindly, the answer should be very difficult to frame a very well structured answer. But if you have points, even the examiner would get a feeling that you are a structured thinker. And more importantly than that, I think it will help you organize thoughts inside your head as well. So writing in points worked well for me, and that is what I followed, except for English, obviously. But even in English, I think in comprehension, I wrote it in points because they make it very important that we write it in our own words. So for English comprehension, I use points only so that it feels a bit more like, individualistic, the answers. Yeah, but apart from that, both finance and management and ESI, I used completely point subheadings, point, subheading, point. That's what I followed.
So in generally students have a query that they should give reference of some data, government initiatives. So is it advisable?
Yes, I did that. But like I said, I am bad at memorizing things, and I don't remember if I actually wrote any data in my answers. But yeah, it would be advisable to give data. However, I give a lot of examples. Like if there is a scheme, I would be like, okay, I mean, if it is a question on climate change, I'd be like, so the Indian government is currently following, the Panchamrit is there, or we have the green hydrogen mission. I used to give examples if I don't remember any data. If you're not able to recall data, it's completely fine, but make sure that you at least remember some examples. And even when if you can memorize data, you don't have to remember everything to accurate points. So say if like a particular data says this thing is 23.4%, you can just say it's around 20%. And that itself is more than enough. Again, I don't remember if I use data at all. It's been quite some time since descriptive paper is over. But yeah, data and I think examples will definitely give an edge to your answers. It'll make your answers a bit more unique compared to, say, the other generic answers that they come across.
So many selected candidates in the previous year recommended that you should study PID yourself. You should study RBI website, RBI circular yourself. So you followed the strategy, or you relied on the content what we developed.
No, I did not have time for any of that, and I frankly don't think all of that was necessary. I just relied on CrackGradeB. And I think for quick revision, I would have referred to some random YouTube videos that were like summarizing things. That's it. But it was mainly CrackGradeB for me because there was no other time. The only time I used this thing, RBI website, was for my interview preparation. But up until that, I don't think I didn't have the time to go to the website at all. So I had to rely on the compilations that your course provided. So.
Or any newspaper you followed during this preparation for phase two?
Yeah, newspaper actually, I've been reading Hindu for the past 1.5 years. It has become a habit of mine. So even when I have so much to study, I'll make sure that I read Hindu editorials. And yeah, apart from that, for phase two, I didn't do anything else. Oh, you are the newspapers.
Okay, okay. So now comes to the interview part. That is also nowadays play a great role in selection. I mean, it's totally
Yes.
depend on your interview as well. Means you can even if you have scored very good marks in the phase two, but still you are not. Means it is not 100% confirmed that you will be selected. It totally depends on the interview. So how did you manage during your interview? And I have seen your biodata that you have a graduation in mechanical engineering, BTech in mechanical engineering. So how did you justify that? Simply they may have asked the question that why you want to join RBI. So how did you tackle this question during the interview if they have asked the question?
Yeah, so for me, they didn't ask me why I wanted, like after mechanical engineering, why I wanted to join RBI. Initially, when I went into the interview hall, chairman sir was joking that out of the 60 people they've interviewed, for at least 40 were mechanical engineers, and what is happening to your field? They made a joke, so I didn't have to thankfully reply anything to that. But for me, the main question that they wanted to know the answer to was, I had a really good job right before this with a very good package. And the company, ITC, like you mentioned, it's a really, really great company, especially like, in current Indian standings. So they wanted, and they were people who were very impressed by the company as well. So their question was, Amrita, why did you leave such a good job and that to ITC? So my answer was that, rather than working for a private, this is my honest answer also, like my honest reason also. I'd rather work for the country than serve a company whose motive is purely private profit. I am rather interested in serving the nation and the people. There were cross questions, obviously. I think Single sir told me, Amrita, profit is also nation building. Like, profit is not a bad word. But I think Chairman sir helped me out there. Chairman sir was like, but there would always be that guilt of working in a cigarette tobacco company. So I am with her in this. So I was like, yes, so that is basically a reason. So this was the main question that they had for me. Apart from that, they didn't grill me much on that. But I think, yeah, you should have a clear justification. And I had multiple sets of answers prepared. Like the gist was this, that I wanted to work for the nation rather than for a private company. I wanted to use my talents for the country. So I had multiple iterations of that answers prepared based on different questions. Like one question I prepared for myself was, why RBI after mechanical engineering? Another question was, why RBI after ITC? And another question would be, why finance sector after, like, engineering? So you have to prepare a few questions like that and anticipate anything and prepare those answers. Again, while preparing means don't lie, but make sure it's genuine and coming from within. So that's how to prepare for that part.
So how do you prepare for the interview?
Okay. So interview, I think the main thing in interview is your biodata itself. So while filling the biodata, you have to take utmost care to fill that. You only fill things you're very confident about. And one important tip that I would give everyone is make sure that your biodata has something interesting or eye-catching so that the interview will progress that way. Because if you have a very lackluster biodata, they are going to ask you random questions from anywhere on earth. Like they could ask you from economics, finance, RBI, and you won't have control on what questions they are going to ask or what you're going to answer. But on the other hand, if your biodata has something interesting, something that could catch their eye, you can be like at least 80 to 90% sure that the interview is going to go in that direction. And it worked for me. For me, it was ITC. ITC is a great company, and that worked on my favor because all the questions that followed for me after that was based on ITC. And ITC is a sustainability champion in India. So questions came based on sustainability, etc., which I was well prepared on. So yeah, first thing is your biodata. Make sure you fill it thoroughly and carefully because that plays a very, very important role on what course your interview can take. So yeah, and then after the biodata was filled and sent, I prepared my interview preparation into 3 phases. First thing was my biodata based preparation. So for every point in the biodata, I'll make a few questions and I'll also imagine what cross questions they were going to ask, and I would also prepare answers to that. So I had like a Google document with me, and it made all these questions and all these answers based on that. And second part was RBI based. So I thoroughly went through the RBI website and I read all the important speeches. I think I covered almost 4 to 5 speeches of governors. And again, it's not possible to by heart the speeches or anything, but take important points and then think in what answers you can use these points. So I did that. I used to make like important notes, like, from say a particular statement or something. I used to jot that down. And RBI website, other things also like the monetary policy statements, the circulars that they used to release every day, all of those things. I used to be updated on all of those things and the balance sheet of RBI, all of this. So basically, that RBI website is basically a treasure trove. You will find a lot of things. There will be an FAQ page. And I think a lot of questions that I saw from other aspirants also during the in the transcripts, a lot of them were available in the RBI FAQ page itself. So RBI website, you can like study every nook and corner of it. There'll be different, so many sections, and if possible, cover most of the sections if you can, and that will really help during the interview. Third part was so biodata was there, RBI website was there, and the third thing was newspaper reading. I used to read Hindu daily, like I always did. I also added Business Standard to my reading, and that too mostly I focus mostly on the editorials only, and also Economic Times. Economic Times, I just didn't buy the e-paper. I just bought the the website subscription is there. So I would go through the website. There would be some important news, some opinions of people. I would just read those only if I find something interesting in a day. I wouldn't read it every day, but if there's something that catches my eye, if I felt something was important, I used to read that. So yeah, these are the 3 main things of my preparation.
Okay. And we have almost completed everything. So one more question I generally ask selected aspirants, selected candidates, that there is aggressive marketing by many coaching institutes. Then how did you decide to go with the CrackGradeB?
Yeah, so I'm someone who uses this social media platform called Reddit. So after I think UPSC prelims, a lot of people were talking about RBI Grade B on there, and people were asking what to follow. And a lot of people were giving a lot of different sources. However, one name that kept coming up was CrackGradeB. So I also went through the website and I realized that the prices were very economical, something like, that wouldn't be a big burden on my pocket. So that's why I went with that. And then I also read the reviews by other people and I realized that it is very comprehensive. That was the best thing about it. So I bought it, and I don't think that I didn't have to refer to any other source because everything was there at one place itself. I didn't need the video lectures because I'm not someone who studies well with video lectures, but the documents that were provided were very perfect. And I think the reviews on Reddit was what helped me reach your website eventually, because they were all the reviews were on point, and that pushed me to buy the course.
Okay, okay. Okay, so Amrita, what will be your advice to the future aspirant, those who are targeting next year?
So I would say, like, I think I've already mentioned this. So take the pressure off of yourself. This is this is a job like any other job. If not this, there are still so many more jobs in the market that would be suited for you. So taking that pressure off from yourself would be the very important step for clearing this exam, because if you pressurize yourself, you're not going to reach anywhere. Second thing that helped me during the preparation was I had a WhatsApp group with just myself. And every time I studied something and I felt that if there was something that I would not be able to memorize, like right now, or I need revision or points that were very important, I used to take snapshots of that from the document and put it in the WhatsApp group. And before the exam, like 2 days before the exam, I used to stop studying everything else and I used to just scroll through the WhatsApp. So that helped me a lot, like a lot, because I think whatever I studied in those last 2 days during through that WhatsApp group is what helped me write answers during the exam. So have something like that. It need not be a WhatsApp group. Maybe it could be notes app in your phone, or like maybe jot down something in your personal computer. Or a notebook is also well and good. For me, it took a lot of time writing. Typing was easier. So yeah. These are the two important things. Other than that, just believe in yourself. Don't think of this as a very big deal or the end of the world. And yeah, then I think you'll be able to clear this.
Okay, thank you, Amrita, for joining this session, and this will definitely clear many doubts of the aspirants. And I wish you good luck for your RBI journey. And thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Great interacting with you.
Thank you.